In the morning light when the sun does rise, hope awakens like a bird in the skies. With every heartbeat, we dance through time, together strong in love's perfect rhyme. La familia nos une, we stand side by side, with fear in our hearts.
Saludos. Bienvenidos a Conversaciones de Salud. This is our signature song. It was created by a former student in our tobacco work, Chewy. And Chewy was part of Alma's group, which is, Dakota County. It used to be Henry Sibley High School, and it's now Two Rivers High School. The teacher out there, Mr. Hansen, Senor Hansen, has been creating community health workers for the past, I think, 30 years. And Chewy was part of that group of young people from Alma's group in Dakota County. And so he's created this beautiful jam for us to get us in the mood to have these robust conversations. And I'm excited to welcome everyone. Bienvenidos. Hola, Pepe. Gracias por todo. And I also want to give a shout out to Human for helping make this possible. Bueno, today is an exciting day porque we're going to be talking about research. Vamos a hablar sobre la investigación. And our guest, to be respectful, we're going to keep it in English y después tú sabes un poquito de Spanglish más para bajito. Pero research has ever been confusing to you, intimidating? Tonight's conversation is definitely for you because we're breaking it down. We're going to be clear, honest, and together. Juntos vamos a hablar sobre la investigación y la importancia que es sobre eso. So I'm very super excited to welcome my colleagues from Partners for Pain. If I could please see them on the screen. Mira para allá, bienvenido. ¿Cómo están? Hola, hola.
Bien, gracias.
Did you like the song?
I loved it.
Yeah. Did you want to dance?
Right? That was really great. I remember bumping into Chewy. I think it was at the Cinco de Mayo celebration, right? Over at Spin Studios. Yeah.
Yes, at Spin, yes. And we did that for Red Wing. We did a presentation out there on opioids. And so it's difficult times these days, and to kind of keep the spirit going, he created that for us. Pero I want to welcome you back to Conversaciones de Salud. It's been a while. And so what I would like to do is just turn it over to you so you can introduce yourselves, please, and give us that platform that we've been working on. We've been doing a series of these conversations so we can kind of know, what is clinical trials, how invasive are they, how user-friendly are they, what the heck are they? Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, I like to turn it over to Douglas, Douglas Kennedy. Is that okay? We start with you?
Yeah. Okay, well, hey, thank you so much for having us back, Carmen. It's always great to be on your shows. And I'm really excited about this series because there can be a lot of things that we don't know about research, right? What's going to happen to me? What about, my data, my privacy, what happens in them? So having this opportunity to talk with, the audience, to get that information out there is really, really important. So I've been on the show a couple of times. It's been a real privilege. I work with Carmen and a bunch of several other community members on our community advisory team. And what we do is we build community relationships, and really with the goal of trying to help folks understand how research works. So a lot of listening, a lot of answering questions, and then getting people to participate in research, because there's a link, and we're going to talk about this later, between research and then community well-being. When I'm not working on that particular project, I teach at the University of Minnesota. And I also work on analyzing people's stories, the information that they share with us, so that we can do a better job understanding how our programs work and how we can do a better job. So I'm really here along with my colleague Amy, who will introduce herself in a second, to really, I think like pull back the curtain, kind of like in that movie, The Wizard of Oz, right? Like to show what happens behind the scenes, and to tell people what happens when you decide to join a study. You may have seen our ads in places, and unless you've done this before, you might not know what happens to you, how you'll be treated, how our team works with people. We make sure that you're going to be safe in it.
Right. And what is a clinical trial? Already that sounds
it sounds onerous, right? It's like, yeah. So,
so perhaps we can talk more about that down.
Oh, absolutely. But I've been talking a while, so how about if I kick it over to Amy, and then she can introduce herself, and we can then dive into some of the particulars there.
Thank you very much, Doug. Yes, Amy, I see you are the community engagement researcher, correct?
Yeah. That's a great way to describe me. Thanks, Carmen, for having me here.
Thank you so much.
And yet I used to not know what was a clinical trial, right? I was in that boat too. What the heck goes on and these kinds of things, because I come from a community side as well. A community partner that we've worked with, the YMCA of the North. I worked for them for many years in the community. I'm not trained as a clinical researcher, but I've learned so much since 2018 when I joined this team. So I feel like I have a much better understanding now, but I still retain that community partner perspective, if you will, or working with people, because that's my jam. That's where my heart is connecting with people. And so in addition to working with Doug, like engaging with our community partners, with people in the community, trying to build those relationships, I'm a project coordinator as well. So I do a lot of behind the scenes work, and I'm a facilitator on the programs, the actual education programs that is sort of the meat of this project. I lead those and I train the other facilitators. So I've learned so much. So I feel like I'm a good source. If you have questions, I probably had the same questions in the past. So I can understand and relate.
Yes. Well, it's so interesting because I can understand the researchers who were in the scientific field anyway, a chiropractor or whatever. And you're saying that you were on the other side, community. Could you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked for a community organization, with people. I worked with older adults at the YMCA, and in fact, I still do. I still teach group exercises classes there. But so I didn't really have any training or exposure to research in my professional background until I met this team, and I joined the team as a facilitator on a different study. And boy, howdy, I didn't know a lot in the beginning, but I've learned a lot. I've asked a lot of questions. And I'm still learning all the time. I'm still like, oh, that's why we do things that way. Like, it really has helped me to understand why research does things in a certain way, that it's important, to protect people and to keep people safe.
I learned the same thing with the CAT team.
Yeah.
Although I had been exposed to research and the importance of it, it really didn't connect. I couldn't connect the dots quite as much as I can now. And I think that's why it's so important because the team at CAT, the researchers, really, from my experience, are able to draw beyond the lines. Usually you have to do it a certain way. You don't drop the expectations or the value of it, but you help bring us in to understand.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I think that's the most exciting part about it, because I see it from Doug's side with the data and this and the implications that it has for my community. So if my community doesn't participate, then it's a detriment for us. But then someone like you, who's in the community, at the Y, can facilitate and can do, and then you also get caught in it, in that excitement. Like, I've gotten a little bit caught into the excitement. It's like, wow, research, wow. I kind of see everything in research. And so what I wanted to say ask you, for the audience who might be tuning in for the first time, And really, they don't know what Partners for Pain is and its connection to the community's well-being. Really, why should people care? Why should the community care about Partners for Pain, or my spouse's pain, or my grandfather, like you were saying, in a certain age group?
Yep.
So who'd like to take that one?
Yeah,
That hard question.
I can start.
Thank
And
you.
Doug,
Go
please
for
fill
it.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, pain
thanks.
is a big deal, right? Pain affects a lot of people. I can speak from personal experience with chronic pain. It's big. It affects 80% of us at some point in our lives is going to experience back pain or neck pain or spine pain, which is what our team studies. And it can be so debilitating and so it interrupts our life. And it can lead to other health issues and mental health issues. And so pain's a big deal. And most people have experienced it themselves or know someone who is deeply affected. And
Yes.
so that's, and yet not everybody has access to, outside of, medications or over-the-counter meds or drugs that we don't want to take, or procedures or surgeries that maybe seem really extreme. What do we do? A lot of people don't have access to programs that help them, but there are things that we know that work, that have been proven effective by other research, that we know can help people. You don't have to pop a lot of pills. You don't have to have a surgery. There are other techniques that we can do to take care of ourselves and to manage our pain. That's what I find so inspiring. As a person who, I come from the Y, I come from a fitness background, I've been a dancer all my life. I still want to move. I still want to feel good in my body, but I have this pain that keeps me from doing a lot. I don't want to take drugs. I don't want to have surgeries. What can I do? And so that's what I find inspiring, is that we have these programs that help people manage their pain without those medical interventions, or even having to go into a clinic, which sometimes can just be a barrier or a challenge to even get in there, right?
Oh, and it's scary. It's
Yep.
it's very scary. What are you going to do to me? What are you going to put in
Exactly.
my body? You're going to look at my records.
hmm
You're going to know where I live, my status. You're going
Yeah,
to know my
so
deepest
much.
secrets, really, as it relates to my health. And so building, and that's what attracted me to Partners for Pain, was to build that trust,
Yeah.
so people can actually say, yes, my back, yes,
hmm
my neck,
hmm
and have a trust to be able to get that information, to be able to understand it. And I find that with CAT, there's a lot of work put into it to make sure
hmm
that it's never watered down, but it's broken down into little bite-sized pieces, so that we can take that medicine,
Mhm.
in a sense of that alternative, like you were saying, Amy, not
Right.
having to take medications or
hmm
depend on them.
Right.
How do you work through that pain? And
Mhm.
it also requires a lot of mental strength. Yeah. Is that part of Partners for Pain? Are we helped with that, with that area of that mental trauma that's connected with going in and talking about our pain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug, I see
Well,
you formulating a
you can
thought.
see me like going, just, I mean, a couple of quick things, 'cause we're diving right into the content. And Carmen, you asked this really great question earlier, right? Because we're talking about like research, studies, clinical trials, right? We throw these out, and sometimes people can be really nervous about that. And I just really wanted to help people understand that when we're talking about research and we're talking about why people might want to be interested in it, it's because we're working together to try to solve a problem, to figure something out. And that's really important. And when we talk about clinical trials, there are a lot of rules that are put into place for this. We're working with people in a clinical trial, and we're looking at what we call a health outcome too, right? So we're talking about, in this case, people's pain. So we're trying to figure that out. And when people participate in this, they're helping the scientists, they're working together with the scientists to figure out a problem. In this case, what can people do on their own to manage their back and neck pain? And as you started to get into these pieces around like, well, hey, it seems like maybe there's some mental pieces that can happen. There's exercise. That's what's going into these programs. So we're working together to, whether it's improve the health of communities, to create good programs, and we're testing the effectiveness of them so that we can then get them out there and people can use them. And then I think I just want to throw that one piece in there because, we don't want to have people come in like, well, isn't this like a gym program or something? We're working together to figure out the science. And that really important piece, as you're talking about with the cat, that there are people along the way that are there to answer your questions, to make sure that you feel comfortable, that it's not, you can kind of joke, like you don't get a punch card that says you only get a couple of questions, then you're done. That's actually your right when you come into this, like to ask those questions, to make sure that you understand, and we're going to work with you to make sure you understand what's going to happen too, because you understanding and your safety are the most important things for our team. But that was just one kind of spur trail. I think we wanted to help maybe the audience understand. So they're like, oh, this is what's going on. And Amy, maybe we can turn it over to the content of these programs, because we're testing 2 programs to see how they work to help people manage their pain on their own without surgeries or drugs, which are typically, what people are prescribed when they have back pain.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, please, Amy. Thank you.
I love to talk about the programs. I think I really feel just a real sense of pride in these programs. As I mentioned before, they have been studied before and proven effective to help people with pain. So that's number one. Like these things, we know they can help people with pain. So that's great. As Doug mentioned, there's 2 programs that we are looking at. We're trying to see, is one effective? Are both effective? Is one more effective than the other? The good thing is they're both, I think, really good quality programs. You don't get to choose which one you're in if you're in the study. The computer picks. It's like flipping a coin, right? It's like, I know I'm going to get in one or the other. That's the only thing you don't have choice in, is which program you get in. So that way we know that we might not have people that have a preference for one or the other. We want to make sure that, it's equal. So they're structured very similarly. Both programs are 90 minutes each. We meet once a week for 9 weeks. So it's like a classroom program. It's an education program, right? That a person might like one you might sign up for, but this one is free to participate. You meet once a week for 9 weeks, either on Zoom or in person in a classroom setting. We try to make it fun and interesting. There's other people in the program, so we interact. We have 2 group discussions. Folks love to talk with other people about their pain, and especially with other people who have pain. It's like, they understand where you're coming from. That's been such a valuable part of the program, as folks are like, I feel safe talking about my pain here because you guys get it. And each program does include some physical exercise, like we were talking about. There's about 15 minutes of physical exercise, different types of therapeutic, like physical therapy type exercises that you can do at home that we know are useful and are safe for most people to do. But then there's the content of each program, and we learn about different topics. We learn ways to strengthen that mental resolve that you mentioned, Carmen, right? Like, how do I get my brain focused on just getting through this pain, of coping with my pain today so that I can do what I need to do today? So there's different aspects like that to the programs. But the best thing is sort of the community that we build in each group. There's a real sense of a community feel among the participants, where they get to know each other over the 9 weeks. You get to know each other's personalities, quirks, what they're going through. We share things. We talk about the content of the programs. That's what I love to see as a community person, right? I love to see that little community develop, and it's such a great safe space for people to talk about their pain together. I don't know if I answered the question.
It's a support group, right?
It is. It sort of is. Yeah.
And I believe that, that's why we do Conversaciones de Salud, is just to have support on a conversation. It isn't really anything other than that support. And you're so right when you mentioned that, because it doesn't matter what the data says or whatever report you have. If Don Juan goes home and tells Doña Juana, something positive, it'll grow. Something negative, it'll explode. And so it's I think from the meetings that I've gone to and seen, because the researchers are incredible with the reporting and letting us know all the growth and challenges and all, so we can have a clear picture. And each time it's clearer how it's really taken hold, that people are trusting it. And I'm sure it's the CAT team taking it, handling it personally, feeding people personally, so that they trust it. And once they trust it, then they're open to it. Because pain is very difficult. How do you know what my pain is?
Right.
I need more pills than you do. I need less pills. I can't even get a pill. I don't have insurance.
Right.
It's not even my neck. It's really my elbow, or because I haven't had a real assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Participants, when they go to you, do they have to have an assessment? Do they have to show you that they are having this physical whatever and are on medication, or can someone just, I got a pain in my back, join the research?
Yeah. We don't do any kind of assessments. There's no testing or x-rays or any of that. What we ask folks to do is to fill out a brief survey. Tells us a little bit about their pain. How long you've been experiencing pain, what type, how does it affect your quality of life, that kind of thing. So we start with a really brief online survey. We can either do it on the computer, or you can call us and we can talk you through it. It takes about 10 minutes. And so everything is self-reported. Everything comes from you. We're not going to ask to see your medical records. We're not going to put you through any kind of tests. We're not taking blood. We're not doing any of that, right? It's a conversation. Again, it's a conversación, right? By survey. You tell us your story by a survey, and you'll learn right away if you're eligible for a screening visit. And then if you come in for a screening visit, then we talk more. We give you a little bit longer survey at that one too, where you tell us a little bit more about yourself and about your pain. So again, no medical records. We're not going to ask you to give us access to anything. You just tell us what you experience.
So I don't have to come in with my passport?
No, we don't have to see any documentation. No.
Wow.
And for Carmen, we in the research land, we call this, right, our inclusion criteria. Who can be included in the study? And for us, if you've had back or neck pain for 3 months or more, and you're over 18, you're going to qualify probably, or at least this is the population that we're looking for. So it's we don't check things like documentation status. You say bring in your passport. People have asked, should I bring in my latest imaging from my doctor? And it's like, no, you don't need to do that. And Amy, I just want to throw in one piece. We talk about these screening visits.
Yeah,
that can sound kind of, again, it's research language, right?
Yeah.
But what we're doing in this is we're walking you through the types of questions we're going to ask, the type of data that we're going to ask for, use, who actually watches us to make sure that we're doing our ethical job, and to make sure that the person sitting across from us knows what will happen during the study.
Yes.
And are you okay with that? And one of the most important things about that is it's voluntary. You could decide that I don't want to participate, and you're not going to, hurt anybody's feelings or jeopardize your relationship with the University of Minnesota, or things like that. So that it's really important. It's I think, as Amy put it, or it's a conversation, right?
Yes.
Which is the back and forth. And one of the things I'm really proud about is that our team takes a lot of pains to make sure that the people that are engaging with participants are, listening, right? I mean, this is something that we're making sure our team knows how to do, because that person, they may be coming in, maybe they're nervous, but they need to be respected. And how you treat people matters a lot.
Well, I find that, and Kat, and you and I have this conversation all the time. Because for me, that's the biggest thing. It's easy to recruit, no problem. We can recruit anybody, anywhere, for whatever, but it's retention. And so then the retention, I find that it's mostly because people feel uncomfortable. They don't feel valued. They feel, they can't trust something. They get the EBGBs. As a Latina, I'm always like, oh, I got the feeling. And so it's a very, I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know if it's just a human thing, because we're going in with the PhDs and the people who, work up the why. And so it's so much a combination of so many things. And I'm glad that Amy mentioned that mental trauma, especially these days. It's even adding more to that. And so I find that the CAT team, the members, are very, very deliberate in making sure that this conversation keeps going in their community and their surroundings. And as I see, like, we're at the end of the year, so we had another report, and it's a wonderful year, and it's so exciting because oftentimes I see, oh, we almost got there, but next time, or it could have been, or and I always see like it gets stronger and stronger. Could you talk to why that is, besides that that you're awesome?
Amy, do you want me to take a stab at that, or would you like to take a swing at that first?
I was going to say it's just that I think we're pretty awesome. No, I'm kidding. But I think it does go back to what goes back to what Doug said. We've trained our facilitators, and I think we just have a team of really good humans, but we are trained to really listen, to be respectful, to be inclusive, right? To work really hard to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. That's one of the things we discuss in the first program session, is that we all come from different backgrounds. We're all coming in with a different story. We want to make sure that space feels safe and inclusive for everybody in the program. We have different opinions on things. That's okay. But what unites us is we all have pain. And I think from the first visits, people recognize that our team is willing to listen, that we care, and we do everything we can to support people to get to the programs too, like with reminders. We provide transportation if it's needed. We provide compensation. So we do all these things to just make it as good as possible for the participant to experience. And I think that's what keeps people sticking around with us through the 9 weeks. Our retention rates are really remarkable for this kind of research. I'm very proud to say.
Talk a little bit about that, about the retention rates.
Yeah, I was just trying to pull them up here. Doug, do you have them handy? But
not off the top of my head, but
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, but if people are curious, Amy's point about, that intentionality, right? Like being really deliberate, like with seeing people, listening, and it's not just a one-time piece, right? Carmen, like you said, it's not just recruitment, because you can bring people in, but it's from, how our staff is trained to work with folks that are coming in. I think it's how we do our work with the CAT, or that community advisory team that works with, the research leadership to say, here's how we should do things. Even in like our own example, like between you and me, Carmen, like we had lots of conversations before you ever joined this team. And that seeing people, remembering that you're working with people is really important. And the other part is that relational work is based on trust. And so like when Amy's talking about retention rates, when we're looking at who's coming into our studies, what people are thinking about it, when we had our pilot results, and a pilot, in terms of research is like, is this going to work? So we're going to try an initial stage with a smaller group of people to see if it'll work, and then we can make it into a much bigger study. So, we're going to see over 300 people in this. But when we had the data, the results of this, we made sure that those results were put on the web. And we also made sure that we were reviewing them with the CAT, that the people that participated got to see the results too, right? To say this feels accurate, because that communication, that transparency, that authenticity, are you listening? Can I trust you? Has to be intentional, right? You've got to do that, and not just in one part, right? You've got to have that across. So, Amy, did you get a chance to pull up the retention? Because people can find these results on our website, which is partners4pain.org.
Yeah. There's numbers there for the pilot that Doug mentioned, but I'm looking at numbers recently for our current programs that we've been running. We've enrolled 219 people so far, which I think sounds like a pretty big number to start with, right? And we check in with folks. We keep track of how often people attend, and of the people who've attended, 6 or more sessions. So it's 9 sessions, right? Our goal is, we want to know how many people attend 6 or more. I think our goal is 75% of people, which is a pretty high bar, but we currently are at over 80%, 93% in some groups. Like, so I think that's pretty remarkable. And then another piece that I think really speaks to retention and what people think of the programs is how often people refer their friends and family. Like, right?
So they have, that's right, they have a referral. Of course, that's
Yep.
where you learn things. Oh,
So if you don't have a good experience, you're not going to share it
no.
with your friend, right? But we have people all the time. I'm looking at the list of names that come in. It's like, oh, referred by a friend, family, or coworker. Oh, I found this at my church, or somebody at church told me about it. So I think that's a really big marker too, to say these folks are doing a good job. I'm going to tell my friends about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of reminds me, there was also that story. One of our other CAT members had on one of our T-shirts, right? And people recognize our logo now because it's important that our team is not just, we're housed in the community. We want to make sure that we're out and visible. But she was driving and she saw someone else in one of the T-shirts, and they were just like waving at each other. And that, is just sort of that example. You wouldn't do that if you're having a bad experience.
Right.
So I think that's really important. Amy, I'm wondering, these programs, they're 9 weeks. It's 90 minutes at a time. And you mentioned compensation. I'm wondering, what is that, right? Like, what does that mean? What does that actually look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to provide just a small, it's really more of a thank you for your time, right? We can't pay folks for every moment of their time there. That's not how research works, but we can give you a thank you and show you how important it is. So we mentioned the screening visits, right? There's 2 times before you would start those 9-week programs that you'd come in and talk to us, or meet us on Zoom. Folks get paid $20 for each of those visits. They get paid $30 for each of the 9-week programs that they attend. And then at the end, there's 3 surveys we ask people to complete, and you get paid another $20 for each of those. So in total, it's $370 if you complete all of those visits or interactions. And what we do to make it easy on people is we give them a reloadable MasterCard gift card. It's just like any other reloadable card you might get. You can spend it anywhere. You can get cash. You can take out the whole amount, however it works for people. We've just found that that's a really easy way to get folks the cash in hand really fast. And I think folks appreciate that little bit, that compensation just helps them maybe get to a program or get something to eat after the program.
Yeah. And if they lose it too, then they can always replace it. It's not
easy peasy. Right, exactly. Yeah. Easy peasy.
The compensation part is so important because people's time is valuable.
Yep.
And then I believe that's part of the success too, is because usually when something starts at the top, it just kind of like waters down by the time it gets to the real folks.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, this is a big line item in our budget that we budget for, right? To make sure we have those funds that they go directly to participants. Yeah.
That trust is so strong. We feel valued. People feel valued.
Yeah.
Sorry. Back here. Doug, did you want to comment on what Amy just shared with us?
Well, no, I think we've had, maybe one piece. And then I think there's this one item that I think might be kind of really interesting potentially to bring up. I want to make sure that we just get to it. Yes. Is that compensation structure, right, is important. And it is part of trust. You never can compensate everyone for their time. But, we try to be authentic. We try to be credible, from how we're compensating our community members, like in our CAT, to make sure that there's equitable pay for the work. And I think that really just comes as, how do you, when you do research, are you working with folks, right? Or are you working on folks? And I think our team has really tried to make sure that we're working with folks and to build that trust, that people are having a good experience, whether they're interacting with, one of the chief investigators, we call them PIs, they're principal investigators, or the clinician staff, right? Like we're trying to take away barriers, make it a good experience, and that they, feel like they can recommend it to someone. I'm wondering, Carmen, would it be okay if I throw in one piece here, one that I think is kind of important? Would that be okay?
Absolutely. I also wanted to ask you, how many are involved? That staff you were just talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But whenever you can touch upon that.
Sure. Well, how about that? Because like it was just a piece about the interventions, right? Like what they look like, what happens when someone comes into the room and suddenly there's Amy, right? Now you know a little bit about Amy, but I think that's important. But there's a big network of people that are making the interventions happen that sometimes we don't even see. Amy, I wonder if you'd want to speak to that, because you're critical in all that work.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, like you say, Doug, like I'm a face that somebody might see, and there's a core team of about 8 of us that do the screening, that might meet with you before the programs or facilitate the programs. We've got 12 different folks who are involved in leading, delivering the programs. So you might see any one of those 12 different faces. What's nice is you'd meet some of us up front. I think that's a nice thing about the screening visits, is folks get a chance to interact one-on-one with our team and kind of get to know, like, okay, who is this Partners for Pain team? Who are these people? Do I like them? Do I trust them? And you might meet a few of us along the way, which is really good. In the programs themselves, the facilitator is going to be the same throughout the 9 weeks. So you'll always have the same people in front of you. But behind that team that's up front leading are a team of researchers who do like all the data collection and writing these surveys, programming the database that we use to collect your information. We've got the 2 PIs or leads, like Doug mentioned. And then we've probably got, about 5 other folks, I think, Doug, that are involved in building the programs, building the website, doing the communications. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. We call ourselves a small but mighty team, and we all wear a lot of different hats. We all do a lot of different things, which is fun, I think, for myself. I like to have lots of different things to do. So there's about 17 of us maybe on our team. Yeah. But then you go a step beyond that, right? And you bring in like our community advisory team, like Carmen serves on. There's 10 folks on that now, and they're advising us, and they're giving us their feedback and their wisdom on how they think they should be delivered. So our research team that you might interact with directly is about 17 people, but there's about 35 of us that are on the Partners for Pain team, including our consultants and our CAT. And so there's a lot of collective wisdom there, I think, is really, really important to know. It's not just 1 or 2 people going, hey, I think this is a good idea, we should do it like this. It's lots of people saying, no, I think let's talk to people and see what they think, and let's put this all together.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you for painting that picture. Again, it helps connect the dots.
Yeah.
Oftentimes in the community, grassroots people, it's only 1 or 2 people who play all those roles.
Yeah.
And so we oftentimes, think that that's how a multi-billion-dollar corporation like the University of Minnesota does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no wonder that Partners for Pain is successful, and it's no wonder that I get excited and want to talk about it. It takes 7 times for the ear to hear and comprehend, and so sometimes I feel like, oh, gee, they would repeat this, but not really, because as we learn the importance of research, you can't say it too many times that for folks to say, oh, again. And so I really, really appreciate this candid conversation, and to see that it's a machine behind it.
We do use that phrase a lot. We're a well-oiled machine by this time, because this team has been delivering programs like this for a while. This isn't the first go around. This is the first one we've had this much community interaction on and community input on, which I think is exciting. We've learned an awful lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was a community organization that pushed us. It was a partner that said, you need to do better. Yeah. And that was really so, Carmen, when you're talking about listening, that was really it. And I think we probably all had those experiences where it's been done poorly, but I think really taking the time and and building that trust and putting that intentionality, putting the efforts into it, I think has really mattered. So it always makes me happy when you say that you're happy to be working with us.
Oh, yes, and we have to, the only way we know we're doing things right is by measuring when it doesn't go right. It's okay to have those in and out moments, those road. Pero dime, so who was the organization who pushed you up against the wall? And
Yeah, I mean, it was the YMCA. So we were working on a program with them for it was physical activity for age 50 and older. And they really said, here's what we think you should do. So they pushed us to, to create our cat, and all these things. And, this was the person that actually pushed us became a mentor. And we're really grateful for the trust that they put, because, we're doing rigorous science. We're doing the work. Our methods are really solid. So we're doing good work, and we're working with communities, and that's really important. And again, when we get those good reports back, like, hey, I feel really listened to, or this is something I'd recommend to my aunt, my uncle, my neighbor, that means a lot. And it feels good when we can work together to try to work on these problems, because, folks have back pain and mean that they're not going to work, and that has downstream effects for a household or a family. Amy mentioned the quality of life. So I feel like we're doing some really good work. And if there are more people in the community, they're like, hey, this sounds interesting. I hope that they would talk to you, pick up the phone, give us a call, email us, visit our website, because this is important stuff.
I like that term, vigorous. Yes. And I'm very excited because Centro Tyrone Guzman is the cat team. And so we'll be visiting with him next month. So I'm really excited because, that's like the heartbeat for our community, and not only in Minneapolis, on forever. And so to be able to take the work that we've had, the conversations that we can just cut into little clips and share with the community, Centro can be that agency, that organization, like the Y and like Human,
Right,
and those great organizations that are really, they're all poised to help, but there's not very many, partners for pain who come in and who really want to help. Usually they want to help, but they want us to help them the way that they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's challenging to try and make something that doesn't work work. So I like the fact that that you pay attention when the community talks, and I know that's what you did when you came over to Conversaciones over at Spin, that snowy, icy day with Ruben Rosario, who we miss dearly. And so for me personally, that solidified to me. Anybody who comes out in that weather, and basically, I think that's what CAT does with all the communities. From it's a very diverse group of people. Did you want to share a little bit about that outstanding, phenomenal team that I belong to?
Sure. Amy, you want me to take that one?
sure.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a community advisory system. We started with the relationship of people that we were talking to. This is what we're interested in doing, and then spending a lot of time listening. So we've got, as you mentioned, for example, the director of Centro Tyrone Guzman, who's part of our team. We have the director of UROC, that's really, been doing this work for decades and working with people on research. Human Partnership is represented. We'd had representation from the YMCA, YWCA. And what's really interesting is that these folks are bringing their experience, both professionally, what they do for their jobs on a day-to-day basis, but also their lived experience. And that's that's really important for us to do a good job, to make sure that, these programs, once we're done testing them, the goal is to get them out into community settings. So we're in the process of planning what that's going to look like right now, and then taking that forward. So it's a great group of people. It's been marvelous to watch relationships and other work come out of it. So in fact, next month, we're going to be hearing from 2 of our CAP members that will talk about, the work that they've done on this particular study and how they're contributing in their experiences, but then also how they've worked together, folks that wouldn't ordinarily sit at the same table and work on problems. So that's pretty fascinating. Amy, is there anything that you'd want to add to that too?
Yeah, I'd invite people to, if you want to know a little bit more about that CAT community advisory team and our whole team, if you go to our website, partners4pain.org, there's an about tab, and our team is listed there. So there's a snippet for everybody from the lead, the PIs, to our consultants. Our community advisory team is all listed there. What I love about that is there's just a little blurb about the individuals and what they hope for the project. It's a nice way to see who's involved, who am I getting involved with? That team of like 38 that I said, at 35, 38, something like that. That's who you'll see on that page. I think, again, it's just a transparency piece. We want to show you who is involved in this program and what they bring to the table. I would also say to Doug about the CAT, another retention piece, how long some of these folks have stuck it out with us and they're still willing to come, every meeting and they stick around for 2 hours. It's an amazing group. We have a really strong group of leaders there. I'm very grateful that they stick it out with us and want to stay involved.
Yeah, for some of them it's been 5 years.
That's amazing.
So this is really amazing. So Carmen, we're really happy that you're part of it.
Well, thank you. I can see why they stay, because they can measure that their participation is in line with their goals, which is to educate the community. And that has to come from organizations, community committees like Partners for Pain. When you come into my casa, and so we invite you to come into nuestra casa, but then you want to bring in your habits and not see ours. And I think that's probably why that first organization was able to really share that in such a way that it impacted, and you made a model out of that. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, that happened. Yes, because it worked for me when we had our conversations, and so it's and you have many partners representing many communities, and while we have many things that are the same, we also have 3 or 4 things that are super different. And so I find when I sit in a committee like that, there's a lot of tension and and I don't find that at all with CAT. And so I again, I think it comes from the top down. And so talking about the top, and I did get a chance to interview La Capitan. Yes, could you share a couple of shout outs to Dr. Ronnie Evans?
I think I'm going to start to call her that now, Carmen, La Capitan.
La Capitan. Well, Star Trek, we had, what was his name? James Kirk?
Kirk, and then,
But then they brought in the woman captain.
Yep.
Yeah, that was like, wow. So ever since then, when I see a woman who, takes charge, but not in a way that is intimidating but just I don't know, Mother Nature. I don't know what it is. And I get that from Dr. Ronnie Evans, that she just knows where that ship is going, and she knows who is doing all the pieces. A conductor, we've talked about that. I often see Doug as a conductor, being able to bring in the strings and the bass and the singers and everything, just by twirling a wand. So tell me a little bit about Dr. Ronnie Evanson?
Well, I mean, gosh, she's been doing this work for almost 3 decades now, a really, really seasoned researcher. And one of the things that I think that you're picking up on, Carmen, right? To do this type of work, you have to be very disciplined and really organized, and then how you form your team, right?
Yes.
And I don't think she talked about this in her last podcast,
No.
but about bringing up new researchers.
Mhm.
And that's something that we're really excited about, and, different folks on our team are bringing in new researchers to show how we're doing the work. And that's exciting, and you've met
That's
some
phenomenal.
parties and the picnics and, and all these
Yeah.
things that's really exceptional because, at some point we all retire, right? But the work has to continue. And what's the
Well, and especially, in challenging times like now, because really science is being just butchered and just it's like my crochet, you pull one string, boom, there goes the whole blanket. And so to hear you say about researchers, and I love it because there's so much chaos all around us.
Mhm.
But Kat has a mission,
Mhm.
and yeah, and so and I think that's why I refer to her like that, because we're flying to that mission. Even though all these meters are coming at us and all these things are happening, yeah, we're still very, very focused on that. And it's not easy to bring a team together and
Mhm.
keep it working in a harmony.
Yeah.
So that says a lot about you, the researchers. And when you started with this cat team, did you know each other? You researchers, did you know each other in a different research life, or?
Well, Amy, do you mind if I feel like I'm monopolizing? Do you
No,
want to
no,
say
go ahead, go ahead.
something? I mean,
You
so
and I will get together later, Amy.
so it's actually something that Amy said a few minutes ago is that, there are a lot of different people on this team. Amy's coming from the Y. I used to be a high school teacher. We've got folks that are clinicians, people from all different walks of life, and they're coming together and they're sharing their experiences and having different looks at it. Like, how can we do this? With the CAT team, the relationships happened first, right? And thinking about, we work with Human Partnership too, and there were a lot of phone calls and a lot of meetings and really trying to understand each other and listen. It's kind of like vetting, but it's sort of like when you're also, making a new friend, right?
Yes.
Or like you're interviewing for a job or something like that,
And that's the key. That's the key. You're making a new friend. Yes, you are.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned too, like, it's not always, wine and roses, right? Sometimes it's tough. And one of our members mentioned, he's like, I don't think we need to have, group norms because everybody here is really nice. And it's like, by and large, yeah, but we get tested when times are tough. And that's where, when we can agree on these values that we have, how we're going to work together when we disagree. And you and I have had points where we've disagreed, but we came back to that relationship, to how we were going to do our work. And when you have those, principles, you tend to do better, right? Because you can fall back on them, and you're going to trust that other person to follow through. And when you talk about, again, like Ronnie, it's like coming from the top and working down, right? If that hasn't permeated the culture, someone coming onto the team is going to see that, or a participant's going to see that. At least that's my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah. Amy, you have anything to add?
I'll just share my perspective too. Like when I joined the team back in 2018 as a part-time, I was started part-time. I worked for the Y, but I joined this team part-time. And so I had this kind of outsider's perspective. And I saw how well Ronnie had really put together what I thought was just a really good team of, again, quality humans, good humans, number one, really smart, really conscientious.
They know their thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when I got to join the team full time, I was like, oh, wow, I feel pretty good being brought in amongst these researchers, right? These clinicians and lots of degrees, lots of letters behind their name. What do I bring to the table? But I think Ronnie has been really good about utilizing everybody's skill set, because she knows that there's value to all these different perspectives. And the same thing with the cat. Like, everybody brings a different perspective, and we really value whomever brings something in. And I love some of the discussions we have in those meetings, because somebody will offer one idea and somebody else will say, oh yeah, that, and then let's think about this, and it builds, and so many good ideas just kind of bubble up together. I really enjoy watching that. Very friendly, very collegial, and they are just nice.
Yeah,
Fun
it
group.
really is. One of the things I love the most about it is there's no what I call belly aching, like, oh, wah,
Mhm.
wah, wah,
Right,
it's,
right.
yeah, and that's so important, because all you need is one downer, and it just sets the whole thing. I also like that we give hand signals, like 5. Yeah,
Yep,
that's
yep.
okay. Down. Nobody does that, but or the down, always the up 5. And so all of you have been working together as this team. And as where are we with this project right now? Are we
Yeah,
halfway there? When can our audience start thinking about, hey, I want to learn, I want to get an application.
yeah,
Where do
yeah.
I get it?
Well,
Yeah.
sooner is better, because we are more than halfway. We're starting to wind down. We're kind of just starting to go down the slope toward the finish line, Carmen, which is really exciting. We have programs planned to start the end of January. Those are going to be all on Zoom, because nobody wants to drive in a Minnesota winter, right? So we think that's a bonus. And then we're going to have another set of programs that start in April. We think that'll be our last group. So if you're thinking about it, if you've been on the fence and you're like, I don't know, should I, shouldn't I? Now's the time.
Now's the
Apply
time.
now. We are still enrolling for our January group. We've got appointments up through next week in early January, and then those programs will start, and then in February we'll start enrolling for the April group. So get in the system now and see what you think.
All righty. So conceivably, someone can fill out an application online
Yep.
and get into the program in January.
Yes. What
Yes.
will happen is if you fill out the application online, then one of our team will call you and schedule your first appointment.
Wonderful. Entonces, for the February one, that
Yep.
starts in February.
And so when you do that form online, you can say, I want to be in January, I want to be in April. So either way,
Okay.
do it now, get in the system, and we'll call
All right,
you.
we're going to do it now. Get in the system. All
Do
right.
it now.
Because I was going to ask when
Mhm.
towards the end of the show, I was going to ask you. I always like like a call to action type thing, so that
Yeah.
we're constantly we don't just have the conversation and take off. But I see that this would be a nice call to action right there. Is
Yeah. Check it out.
put out the application, check it out.
See what you think.
And see it. Y vamos a hablar más sobre eso más tardecito, porque la aplicación para estar en el programa, ustedes lo pueden hacer en estos minutos. Y también lo pueden hacer en enero y para febrero. Yo le voy a mandarle más información con Conversaciones de Salud y también con el Facebook, para que ustedes sepan a dónde buscar la aplicación. ¿Ok? Y este Centro Tyrone Guzmán, vamos a hablar con ellos para que ustedes puedan llamar ahí directamente. So I'm just sharing with our audience. They could go. Xavier, I better let them know. So that we can start that interest and see. There's a lot of tension and trauma in our community these days.
Yeah.
But one thing that I folks are always constantly telling me is that they're not afraid. I mean, they're afraid, of course. Who the heck isn't afraid? But of course, we don't want to live in fear.
Right.
And I think being able to just do it by Zoom, the weather, it's already creating a safe environment that embraces, as opposed to we're going to do it by Zoom, so you're not in trouble. It's like okay, it's driving, yeah, yeah. Okay, it's the ice, okay, not that ice, the other ice.
Hey,
Either way.
Either way.
So I think that's going to be very, very exciting for people to get online and fill out that application.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, for people, if they're not comfortable with Zoom, you don't have to be a pro.
Right.
We've got folks that are actually there to help you too, that will work with you. So you don't have
Yes.
to worry about knowing how to do everything, right?
Well, a Pew Research recently showed that Latinos are the number one on Facebook and
Online commerce.
WhatsApp.
Yeah.
That's right.
You see all the abuelas and the little kids. So yeah, thank you very much, because it's important for them to at least look for it. And on that note, is it in Spanish now? Can people get a little bit of in español, or how we gonna fix that?
Unfortunately, no.
No se puede todavía.
It's all in English because the way the research procedures are, it's very challenging to do things in multiple languages.
Right.
And unfortunately, no, for this study, necesitas hablar inglés. See, my Spanish is not so good, but I can get a squeeze a little bit out.
Pero sigue. Of course, your Spanish, it has to be like that. Let's see how it's going to be like at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, entonces it's going to be bien simple, porque you're being forced. We always, it's very Puerto Rican to always know that something good will come from something bad, always. There's nothing bad that something good will not eventually come out of. And so I'm finding this thing with the dual language, not so much that it's so many languages, it's so confusing, but it's like, hey, you're not supposed to have dual language anymore. And so I'm looking at it as an opportunity then to exercise our ability to learn another language, like you're doing with the Spanish.
Yeah.
So instead of us having to go, we make it Spanish, entonces tú hablas el español. And I think that even solidifies us even closer and stronger. With Conversaciones, we do it in English and Spanish for that dual, so that they can, read. And that's how I learned how to read, was that dual with a Bible. And so to this day, I think it's still good. And I really, really appreciate you reminding us to simply go online and pull out that application. And I'll share that information of how to get that form to begin the work. Yeah. So what do you think? Is that a good plan?
It's a great plan. We're also on Facebook and Instagram too. If anybody wants to follow us, search for Partners for Pain. We get a lot of good information. We just, put out little snippets about the team, about the programs.
Yeah. I that would be great, because I would also like to see, the multi languages or communities increase. I was thinking the other day, a couple of summers ago, we did opioids in 3 multicultural communities in Hmong, Spanish, and Korean, and also English. And it was so exciting because we were all together, and we had people just talking, translating, and just coming together. And I think Partners for Pain is from what I see and my experience working with you guys, it has that same embrace to model and to teach, as opposed to just, oh well, you just go that way. Here's the brochure, figure it out. So I think that's the success for me, for Partners for Pain, and why I like it so much and enjoy these conversations. And as we close off, could you share some last minute thoughts or goals or wishes or hopes that you'd like to share with the audience?
Sure. Amy, do you want me? I can go first unless you want to.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Okay. You go first.
So Muchísimas gracias, Carmen,
De
for having
nada, con todo mi amor.
and to
Gracias.
Pepe, who helps all of us come together. So we're
Gracias,
grateful
Pepe.
for the time and the opportunity to talk with folks, and
Yes,
hope
absolutely.
really the goal people found it useful, and also, that this isn't the end of the conversation. That we can be reached at our email, at our phone, and the lofty goal too. I mean, we're inviting people to work with us to try to, find ways of that people can live better with back and neck pain. But too, if there are like younger folks that are out there listening to this and thinking about, wow, this sounds interesting. It's that hope that people could also think like, well, maybe this is, research. This is something that I could do, right?
Yes.
That there's this opportunity. If you're curious, if you enjoy working with people, that this is something like that's important. And I hope too, and maybe that's the teacher side of me that wants to get engaged with this type of research and to be excited about it as well.
That's great. I think research is so important, and it's not an avenue that's offered. I've never heard a kid say, "Oh, I want to grow up and be a researcher."
Right.
Like, ¿qué es un researcher? ¿Qué es eso? And really, we research absolutely everything. If I want to go have rice and beans, I'm going to check Google and see. So that's research, and being able to expose them to that. And they many youth work on Conversaciones de Salud, so they also read it, and their families read it. And so for me, that's the exciting part, because if they read it and then they meet that person, they connect. But if the researchers are just kind of like, then it doesn't solidify. You cannot make a Jello mold out of it, because it falls apart. We want that nice Jello mold, tú sabes, that wiggles, and you can put all those fruits in it out of a can. But I needed to give you a visual. Y tú, Amy, ¿qué usted piensa, doña Amy? You're an actress, aren't you? Aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm in research and I have a degree in theater and a background in fitness, like, how did I become a researcher? But like you said, we research everything, and I realize now I am a researcher by heart, because I'll always tell people, well, how do you know that? Where did you learn about that? What numbers do you have to, like my poor husband all the time. Well, how do you know that? Can you show me any data about that? So if I can,
and they think you're just nosy, know-it-all.
Okay, that's probably true.
No, the nosy know-it-all kid is going to be the best researcher.
Absolutely.
That's who you want.
And it's interesting. I'm glad you said that, Doug, because it's really a fascinating career. I do so many different things. I think our team, we have a lot of fun. We're always busy. It's not dry, just data all the time or reading papers all the time. There's a lot. We're interacting with people and doing fun stuff. So my hope, I don't know. I'm really excited for the year to wind down. This has been a heck of a year, and I'm super excited for 2026. My goal will be to hopefully meet someone from this audience today who says, I saw you on Conversaciones de Salud, and I've joined the program, and maybe I'll see you in the end of January or in April.
Then we're going to make that wish come true. Yes, Virginia, there is.
Yeah, and thank you, Carmen and Pepe, for making this happen. It's always wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much to be able to allow, this outside the box. As you notice, I always try and bring something positive. Even the song that Chewy created, it has to be an uplifting. Because as human beings, we need that. I just saw a sign somewhere that dance will save the world, and that we need to dance, and you need to move, and we do. We need to sing, we need to dance, we need to have joy, to play those guitars that are in the back there. So that right there, and I believe that that's the best way that we can be a positive role model, because all we do is just talk to, don't do that, and you shouldn't, and but are we modeling, positive stuff, and are we modeling to do some acting, do some singing or whatever, or just stay lost scrolling, because then I have peace and quiet. Thank goodness. Yeah, so I'm very excited. I see Kat as allowing all these things, and when I think about going into Centro Guzman, I really see all that joy going right in there with it, because that it's the only way that we can interact with each other. And the U of M, that's education. Cesar Chavez said it the best. You cannot uneducate a community that has been educated.
Right.
And so I want to just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, to Partners for Pain, and to the CAT team and all the members. I don't have the list. But I hope that you'll come and continue this conversation. I'd like to see how many we can get from the show, and then follow them through, so that they know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And so with that, I wish you un feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. And I guess that's Pepe. Thank you, Pepe. Feliz Navidad, and my wonderful guests, Amy and Doug. I'll see you next year, huh?
See you in the new year.
Good.
Feliz
See you
Navidad.
in the- Feliz Navidad,
Yes.
prospero año y felicidad.